the more effort that I put in my life, whether it's exercise or particularly like running and yoga and martial arts and doing stand up and doing podcast, the more I do those things, the more, because I'm creating my own struggle. And I feel like there's a lot of benefit in creating your own struggle rather than, like, if you see a lot of people that run into like a lot of struggle with life, like just life in general, in terms of like relationships and friendships and fallings out, a lot of that seems to me that people need a certain amount of conflict and a certain amount of struggle. And they create that struggle if they don't get it in some sort of a organic form. If you're not at war with a neighboring tribe, or you're not worried about predators, you create this struggle with your girlfriend or with your buddies, right, or with the people at work, your coworkers. The more I create my own struggle, the more I orchestrate it through training, through exercise, and just rigorous physical struggle where you're knocking on the door of whether or not your body is going to make it through this. The more you do that, the more I feel like it minimizes those other struggles in life. I like it that way better. Mm-hmm. I don't need any real horse in my life. Yeah. I like to make my own horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like, but it really does seem like doing that minimizes other things. Because like if you're running hills, right? If I'm running hills and doing these sprints 400 or 500 yards up this hill, it's so fucking hard to do that's all I can think of. Mm. And my body's heaving, my heart's pounding, and I'm just push. And all I'm thinking about is my breath. Things get minimized. Everything else is sort of like that's a real struggle. Like that's almost death. Like your heart is going 180 beats a minute. You're pouring sweat. That's like a design. I'm doing it on purpose. And I'm doing it to squeeze out all the excess energy and angst that my body might be putting on, that sort of confuses you about the real significance of interpersonal conflict and relationship conflict and work conflict. So much of it is like exaggerated by your own body's desire for some sort of action, something going on. So I've found that the more I do that myself, the less I have that in my everyday life. Mm-hmm. And then also I have to do all the shit I'm supposed to do. I have to do all the work, including family stuff. Like I spend a lot of time with my family. I orchestrate it. I go to the comedy store after the kids go to bed. Mm-hmm. I get up with them in the morning. I help them get ready for school. I either take them to school, I go with them when my wife takes them to school. I do podcasts during the day while they're at school, and then afterwards I hang out with them and I see them. If I don't do that, I feel like a shitty dad. Mm. And you can curate those thoughts and you can cultivate them. There's a thing that you can do where you can get used to action. Like Jocko Willink's perfect example. He has that thing on if you go to his Instagram page, almost every other photo is a watch. And it's a watch that says 4:30 in the morning, because that's when he gets up and he works out and he earns the sunset. And he does that. He's so disciplined, and he's got this saying that's a great saying: discipline equals freedom. And it's true, because he's able to force himself to do that every single time. There's no excuses. There's no breaks. There's no days off. It doesn't happen. So because of that, you're not scared. You know that you can keep doing it. You know that you can continue to perform. There's a lot of people that are scared of their ability to do something that's difficult. They're scared of whether or not you see someone who's doing something that's really tough to do, and you go, man, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could force myself to be disciplined. I don't know if I could force myself to take that kind of action. Well, if you do force yourself to take that kind of action, you don't have that question anymore. Mm-hmm. That question, I don't know if I can do it. Well, you're doing it. So you obviously can do it. Can you do it tomorrow? Well, you did it today. Why can't you do it tomorrow? Just do it. That Nike slogan, just do it, it's one of the greatest slogans of all time. It's so true. It's so good. It's so much better than live your truth or any of these stupid ones that you hear today that people keep spouting out left and right. Get out there and go fucking do something. Just go. And then in the middle of doing it, it'll become easy. even if it's not easy, even if it's hard, it's easier than not doing it and wishing that you had done it. You know, you are not your past. You're you. You're you right now. Like the past you might have done some things you wish you hadn't done. Don't dwell on that. You can learn from it, that's fine, but don't dwell on it. Just keep moving. Keep moving. You know, use it as fuel. Say never again. You know, I get what I did wrong, but don't think that you're that person that made those mistakes. You're the person who's learned. You know, and to have that attitude is a really important thing. And to not say, why am I doing this now? I could have been doing this my whole life. Well, you weren't, so the fuck is that gonna help?
Yeah.
You know, you gotta not think like that. You just gotta be happy you're doing it now. And I think for me personally, I don't know for everybody, but for me, I like to do a lot of different things. And I like to do things that I'm not very good at. And in doing things that I'm not very good at, I learn about learning. And I think learning about learning, like especially new things, it's so, especially for someone who does something and has been doing the same thing for a long time. Like I guess LeBron has been doing with basketball, or, you know, a stand-up comedian like myself has been doing stand-up for 30 years. He'd do it for 30 years. I've been doing the same goddamn thing for a long time. What I find makes me better at stand-up is not just doing a lot of stand-up, but also doing a lot of other things. And particularly doing things that I'm not good at. And they don't like archery never makes its way into my act. You know, like yoga doesn't make its way into my act, but doing those things that I suck at, it helps. Knowing that you can achieve a certain level of excellence, whether it's at martial arts or anything you're doing. If you do know what that feeling is like when you've worked for years and years and years and you've achieved this certain level of excellence that's very unusual, you realize like, oh, that could be achieved in other venues. You just have to find the venue, apply the discipline, and that's where you get so much more benefit out of a struggle that you choose to embark in versus a struggle that life throws upon you. And I think the more you choose to embark in these struggles, these especially physical and mental struggles, because I consider both martial arts, yoga, and actually even trail running, I consider the mental struggles as much as physical struggles. Like, because I could stop anytime I want. I'm halfway up the hill, I can go, F this.
Yep.
This, I'm walking the rest of the way.
Yep.
Call my dog over, put him on the leash. I'm like, we're walking, buddy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But or you could say, no, this is what I'm doing today. I have a very clear plan in front of me. My plan is we're doing 4 miles today. This is where we start. This is where we end. This is what we're doing. Man, the last 20 minutes of hot yoga is one of the most difficult things I ever do in my life. Because when I do yoga, one of the things that I do is I do it 100%. I don't half-ass it. So when I'm trying these poses, I am straining. I'm trying my best. And it is so hard that I've done a lot of yoga. But every time that class is about to start, I'm like, here we go. Because I know we're going into 90 minutes of suck. 90 minutes of 105 degrees suck. And I think that enduring something and building up that ability to endure things, that's also a very important mechanism that you could apply to everyday life. Like that, the mechanism of understanding how to endure. Because a lot of people are just running from discomfort. They're running from it. They're just avoiding it. It's so easy to. And like if you get distracted for a second, you're like, let me check my phone. You just start going through your phone and looking at bullshit, and you're just distracting yourself from the tiniest frustration of boredom. Just the little, we don't get bored anymore. Or if we get bored for these tiny amounts of time, then you get distracted. So your distraction is eliminating your boredom. But the problem with that is like, there's certain thoughts that only come to you when you're thinking, when you don't have any input coming in. When we're constantly looking at our phones, the only input you're getting is input from other people. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes you get good stuff out of that. But it's like a diet of only fruit. Like, hey, you need some protein.
Yeah.
Like you need to get some other things in your diet. And I think having discomfort in your diet, like having it as a regular part of your life, it minimizes the amount of other kinds of bullshit that you create. Get out there and hustle, mother. Get out there and hustle. It's important. It's important not just for success. It's important for your head. It's important for your friendships. It's important for your life.